Most people don't realize how fragile their grocery store really is, until the doors are locked and the lights never come back on. There was a time when the local supermarket felt permanent. It survived recessions, oil crises, political shifts, even wars. It stood there week after week, year after year, quietly feeding entire communities. But in the last 2 decades, something changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Thousands of grocery stores have closed across the United States in recent years. But the real shock is not the number of locations, it is what those closures reveal. Entire neighborhoods becoming food deserts, seniors driving 20 extra miles for basic necessities, small towns losing one of their last gathering places. Tonight, we are not just listing bankrupt companies, we are examining 10 major grocery chains that once fed millions of Americans and why they collapsed. Because these were not random failures, they were structural warnings. Number 10, A&P. For 156 years, A&P wasn't just a grocery chain, it was an American institution. At one point, it operated more than 16,000 stores and helped define the modern supermarket. Generations grew up pushing carts under its red and gold signage. But grocery retail runs on razor-thin margins, often 1% to 2%. When fuel prices surged, when urban rents climbed, when supply chains tightened, A&P could not adjust fast enough. At the same time, customers shifted toward Walmart, Costco, and Aldi, chasing lower prices in an increasingly strained economy. By 2015, A&P was carrying over $2 billion in debt. Vendors demanded upfront payment. Shelves thinned. Nearly 300 stores closed in the final wave. In parts of the Northeast, communities lost their only full-service supermarket almost overnight. If a 156-year-old giant could disappear, permanence was officially an illusion. Number 9. Fresh and Easy. Backed by Tesco, one of the largest retailers in the world, Fresh and Easy entered the United States market in 2007 with confidence. The stores were sleek, minimalist, and efficient. They put a heavy focus on pre-packaged meals, minimal staff, fast checkout. On paper, it was smart. In reality, it misunderstood American grocery culture. For many shoppers, especially older Americans, buying food is tactile. It is conversation. It is trust. Fresh and Easy removed much of that human layer. Distribution costs ballooned because of the vast geography of the western states. Revenue fell far below projections. Tesco lost over $1 billion. By 2015, Fresh and Easy had filed for bankruptcy twice and shut down completely. The lesson was clear. Grocery retail is not just logistics, it is habit and emotion. Number 8. Dominick's. In Chicago, Dominick's felt local even as it expanded. Immigrant communities relied on it. Families built decades of routines around it. But when Safeway acquired the chain, corporate standardization replaced neighborhood familiarity. Staffing dropped, local products vanished, prices crept upward. Within just over a decade, its market share collapsed by nearly 40%. By 2013, the entire chain was shut down. Nearly a century of history was erased, not by scandal, but by detachment from the community that built it. For nearly 100 years, Marsh Supermarkets anchored towns in Indiana and Ohio. Then private equity entered the picture. Cost-cutting accelerated, staff were reduced, fresh selections declined, debt mounted. When margins are 1 or 2%, leverage becomes dangerous. By 2017, Marsh Supermarkets filed for Chapter 11. Locations were broken apart and sold. Many towns were left without a nearby grocery option. Longtime employees lost jobs they had held for decades. It was not customers who walked away. It was a financial structure that became unsustainable. Number 6. Family Dollar. In 2022, federal inspectors uncovered severe contamination in a distribution warehouse connected to Family Dollar. Hundreds of stores were forced to close immediately. But the warehouse scandal was only the breaking point. Rising costs, intensifying competition from Dollar General, and mounting operational strain had already weakened the company. For low-income communities, Family Dollar was often the most accessible option for food and basic necessities. When closures spread, food deserts expanded and travel distances increased. The consequences extended far beyond corporate filings. Number 5. Ultra Foods. Ultra Foods built its identity on ultra-low pricing. That strategy only works when costs remain predictable. But fuel prices climbed, wages rose, supplier costs surged. With margins already paper-thin, there was no flexibility. Competitors like Walmart and Aldi could absorb shocks through scale. Ultra Foods could not. By 2017, the final stores closed quietly. No spectacle, just disappearance. Across the South, Jitney Jungle blended into everyday life for generations. But a leveraged acquisition in the 1990s loaded the company with debt. Aging infrastructure and rising competition from Walmart, Kroger, and Publix intensified the pressure. Within a few years, bankruptcy followed. Nearly a century of presence vanished. Number 3. Pantry Pride. At its peak, Pantry Pride operated around 440 stores and ranked among the 5 largest grocery chains in the country. But rapid expansion outpaced operational control. Debt climbed. The industry modernized faster than it could respond. By the early 1990s, bankruptcy became inevitable. A once dominant name faded into memory. If you have been watching this analysis, you can see the pattern forming. And if you value this kind of long-form economic storytelling, your support allows us to continue documenting these shifts. Consider subscribing so we can keep examining how everyday life is changing. Number 2. Carter Foods. In Michigan, Carter Foods faced a direct pricing war between Walmart and Meijer. Scale, logistics, and capital overwhelmed a regional chain with only a few dozen locations. When Carter Foods filed for bankruptcy, some northern towns lost their only grocery store within dozens of miles. It was not mismanagement alone, it was structural imbalance. Number 1. Fairway Market. In New York City, Fairway Market embodied local identity. The crowded aisles, the deli counters, the energy, expansion driven by investment firms loaded the chain with over $300 million in debt. Rapid growth without structural stability created fragility. Competition intensified after Amazon acquired Whole Foods, and delivery models reshaped customer expectations. Fairway Market filed for bankruptcy twice within a decade. Iconic locations closed almost overnight. These 10 chains did not collapse for identical reasons, but the deeper pattern is unmistakable. Grocery stores were never designed to be high-growth investment vehicles. For most of the 20th century, they were steady, community-based operations. Small margins, local reinvestment, predictable growth. They were built to endure, not to impress shareholders. But once financial markets demanded expansion and rapid returns, the model changed. Debt increased. Efficiency replaced familiarity, local decision-making shrank, algorithms replaced managers. When margins are 1 or 2%, even minor disruptions, such as fuel spikes, wage increases, or supply chain breakdowns, can trigger collapse. And as regional chains disappear, power concentrates into fewer national giants. Fewer competitors mean less local flexibility, less customization, and more standardized pricing. It also means fewer independent suppliers, fewer regional food producers, and fewer opportunities for small businesses to survive within the ecosystem that once supported them. Over time, that concentration reshapes communities in ways most people don't immediately notice. Shopping becomes less personal, employment becomes less stable, pricing becomes less transparent, and the ability of a town to control its own economic rhythm slowly erodes. What looks like isolated bankruptcies are actually signals of long-term structural change. This isn't about nostalgia, it's about understanding how everyday economic life has evolved and why grocery shopping feels different now than it did 30 years ago. What did you think of these grocery collapses? Did one of these stores disappear from your town? Share your thoughts or memories in the comments. Thanks, and until the next video.